Hey gang, hope you're all doing well. Give it a few minutes. Let people see if anybody's going to hop on. I got a very special guest joining us tonight for a very important running discussion, coaching, training discussion. Got Mike Cunningham. He's the National Business Development Manager for Gill Athletics. He's also the host of the Gill Connections podcast. And if there's any bigger coach cheerleader in the world, I can't think of any. Mike is the guy. Okay, he has all the coaches on his podcast, high school, college, pro, everybody. Okay, and this is to get folks exposure, to let people know these people exist, to support the coaches, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So come on, bring your questions, whatever questions you might have tonight. Okay, um, whether you're an athlete or you're a coach, very, very important, and everybody's welcome. All questions are welcome. Okay. Whether it's basic questions, personal questions, training questions, coaching questions. Okay. I'm going to talk about the other part of coaching too, the personal side, right? The connection side, the human side of this. And really, really important. And so, again, whatever questions you might have, bring them. Okay. Bring them. So, and I thank you all for coming on too. And let me know when you're in here in the comments too. Just say hi so I can say hi back, so I can know where you're from. And when Mike comes here, I'll introduce him as well. And for those that don't know, I've got another special guest coming on Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Tom Nohilly. Okay, he is the head coach of the Atlanta Elite Track Club, and he's going to be joining me live Tuesday night before he goes to Glasgow for the World Championships on Wednesday. Flies out there for Worlds. But this was, him and I went to the same high school. Okay. He still to this day has pretty much every distance school record in the high school. He was also NCAA steeple champ, University of Florida. He ran for the Reebok Enclave, founded NYNJ Track Club, Empire Elite Track Club under Frank Gagliano. He also ran under Frank Gagliano at the Reebok Enclave. So, and he's just an all-around phenomenal dude. And I'm really, really excited to have him on. So there he is. Marty Ogden's in the house. Another great coach and a great track person. I know Marty over two decades now from the running school. Okay. Yes, 5-star running camp. Oh, speak of that. Speak of the devil. We've got the guest of the hour, Mr. Mike Cunningham. How are you, my friend?
I'm in my home, away from home, a hotel room, so I'm doing awesome. How are you tonight, Jason?
Doing well. Mike's at the Big East Championships right now.
That's right, man.
Covering stuff over there. So how's it going Big East today, the first day?
Yeah, good. First day, it's kind of quiet, but it's probably the most important day, right? The first day of a 2-day championship, because if you don't qualify anybody for the finals, the second day is pretty boring.
Yep. And I don't know if you noticed in the comments, we got Mr. Marty Ogden here.
Hey, Marty, how are you?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And another great all-around guy right there. I've known Marty over 2 decades now. So
he's a good dude.
Yeah, running camp together. He was coaching at Danbury High School in Connecticut. And he was some of the best people in these running camps. As a coach, it's important to make these connections, which is why I'm really excited to have you. And Marty mentioned you to me. He kind of introduced us, so that's why I was really excited to have you on. And I can't stop listening to your podcast now. Speak to all the coaches, and again, and my friend Michael Hernandez too. Another one, another coach, high school coach. Okay, St. Francis Prep in Queens, New York.
Love it.
Also went to the same high school, and I don't know if you heard, Mike, but I've got. Do you know who Tom Nohilly is?
I know that name. How do I know that name?
Coach for Atlanta Track Club Elite. He ran for the Reebok Enclave.
Yep.
He went to the same high school as I did in Queens, New York.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's Mike Hernandez. He's going to come on Tuesday night as a special guest.
Oh, good.
We're going to talk about his experience and where he's doing now. He's head coach for Atlanta Track Club Elite. He's flying out to Glasgow the next day for Worlds. He's got a couple people in Worlds, so it's pretty awesome to have him on it. So what's your experience in terms of getting all different types of coaches? Like, how does that motivate you? What's the most fun part of that for you?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of been the evolution of my career at Gill. I've been here 17 years now. And
Wow.
when I first came in, I was I hate to say it, a stereotypical sales guy. It was all about me and our company and what can I get you to buy. And, and I kept score, if you didn't buy from me, I remembered that and things like that. And then, probably 8 years ago, it was before COVID, something changed in my heart and my thinking. And I just started remembering the influence, the positive impact that coaches made on me. And so I decided to kind of stop selling and just start uplifting and honoring coaches. And that is led through social media now, of course, as you mentioned, the podcast. And I tell you what, sometimes it's so surreal. I sit back, Jason, and I think, man, I get paid to do, like, this is my job. Like, this is amazing. And it's absolutely fantastic.
And to your point too, and this is one reason why I started this channel, because I wanted coaches to have access to other coaches.
Yeah.
Whereas, you go to a clinic, I've done the USATF certifications and all that stuff, but beyond the certification and the clinics, you don't really have direct access to coaches beyond that. So who can you talk to ask questions?
Yeah.
Right? How about this? Can you break down this type of training? And coaches will give you, and I've bought every book and I've read each book a dozen times and 100 times. So, and it's some great information from great coaches, but a lot of the stuff this is what I've done with my top athletes. And it's like elite icing on the cake, but how do you bake the cake? Do you get the icing? That's why I wanted to build this channel and kind of create that community to solve the rest of the puzzle, solve the rest of the Rubik's Cube, if you will.
Yeah.
And I talked to Mike Hernandez about this, which I'm so glad I found. It's guys like Mike Hernandez that make a difference. Guys like Marty Ogden that make a difference.
Yep.
These are the people that you remember, right? We've had other folks we've listened to. I listened to Joe B. Hill and Jack Daniels, great stars. I mean, Marty Stern from Villanova, but it's people like Marty Ogden and who I don't forget, who I always remember. Mike Hernandez, who I always remember. So, and it's folks like that who make a difference. And that's why I wanted to do this. I wanted to have you on as well, because I wanted to get people to understand, just to listen to different perspectives, coaches from, high-end coaches, from high school coaches, from college coaches, and because everybody's perspective is different. We come from different environments, right? And I was a baseball player in high school. I played baseball my first 2 years, and I was like, I'm going to be the center field for the New York Yankees. That was what I thought, but that didn't pan out. So. And then I ran a mile in gym class, ran 5:13. And the track coach happened to be my gym teacher, Mr. Carey, Mike Hernandez. And he's like, you come for track, dude. So, and then the rest was history after that. And and he was he ran during the Prefontaine days. He went to the University of South Carolina, was a Gamecock. So he gave us stories about Prefontaine and like that. It was really cool to hear. And we came from a school that had a great track program, a great basketball program, and a great baseball program. On Senior McClancy in Queens, New York, at CHSA school, and something I'll never forget, right? And we had a great throwing program, chums program, and it was a tight knit family. And then I went to college. I ran my last 2 years in high school, and then I went to college, and it was different because our high school was all boys, and my college coach did not have a running back. He was a wrestler and he played football. And one day the athletic director said, well, the coach is retiring, so would you take the job? And he took the job, and he's basically built the program from scratch. And we're like, okay. So, and he has some unorthodox methods, but he did a great job at developing distance runners. And now the high school boys DMR Championship of America is at Penn Relays is named after him. Ed Darrow, he coached at Brooklyn Tech for about 30 years, and then he coached at Hunter College, my alma mater. And now the high school DMR is named after this guy. His team at Brooklyn Tech won multiple DMRs and multiple 4x8s at Penn. So he's got a lot of experience and success at Penn Relays. And so, but at the time, he was also dealing with men and women. So from a completely different angle, like from an all-boys high school to a co-ed college, and a different dynamic of connecting with your male athletes versus connecting with your female athletes. That's another part of the learning process for me as a coach, and because I do coach and advise male and females coaches. So it's an interesting dynamic. Like I watched your interview yesterday with Diljit Taylor and BYU, and again, I've got 3 daughters, so I'm very supportive of girl power, and she is the epitome of girl power. Lucy Taylor.
Yeah.
She incredible, incredible. And it's folks like that who just motivate the heck out of me.
Yeah, I love, Jason, that story about the coach who came from a wrestling background, because that's one of the things I love to explore on the podcast. And it's why we're pretty bread and butter. We do the same thing every interview, right? We talk about when they got into coaching, all the different stops along the way. I love it because if you were to ask probably a group of 100 coaches, they would probably say the typical way a coach becomes a coach, or the typical way a college coach becomes a coach. They're a great athlete, maybe they GA, et cetera, et cetera. And we're finding all of these different paths to coaching. They were a wrestling coach, they were a wrestler and became a wrestling coach, and someone asked them, they had emergency fill in and they become a state championship coach. Or I loved track as a high schooler, but I went on and became an accountant. And then after 10 years, went to college, didn't do track, 10 years an accountant. And I was like, man, I miss track. And it pulls them back in. I love the different paths that get us to where we are today in the world of coaching track and field.
It's incredible. And just, we call him Coach C. And and he had this pink scooter. He used to chase us around Central Park. We used to do workouts. And actually, it was known for his pink scooter and chasing us around the park. So, and it was an incredible experience. But through that experience, I saw, to me, it became kind of my calling. I felt I wanted to help as many people as I can. As I've always been driven by helping people. And I always felt like I was kind of put here to do that. And how did I find value in that? And like Holly makes a great point here, the difference between a training plan and a coach. You're absolutely right, Holly, absolutely right. And again, like, how do you make it personal to the people that you're talking to and dealing with? And that's the other part. That's the chess game, right? That's the other part of the coaching experience that not everybody talks about, right? And this is one reason I have live streams on the channel, because I want people to ask me these questions. And a lot of times one question turns into 5 more. I want to be available to answer the questions. I want to have a dialogue with them so I can get to know them on a personal level, no matter who they are. And hopefully I can bring value in that way. And it's one reason I give my email in my videos, so people can reach out to me, because I've got fully detailed training programs. So half mile up to the marathon at pretty much every level on the channel itself. And I know it's going to lead to a lot of questions. So, and to me, an email is more personal touch. So I get a lot more emails than comments on the YouTube channel. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
So, and I can coaching clients and advising coaches, which is great and all, but it gives people an opportunity to be in contact with an experienced coach whenever they want.
Sure.
Their disposal, because I can't just call Villanova and expect to speak to Marcus O'Sullivan.
Right. I'll tell him you're trying to get a hold of him tomorrow when I go to the track.
And, I can't do that. I can't call Jack Daniels and expect them to pick up. So and what do you do? And we may not have the celebrity name, but there's a lot of coaches that have valuable experience, like Coach Ogden, Coach Hernandez. And to me, I like to recognize these people.
Absolutely.
And it's really, really important, because they bring as much value as a lot of other coaches do.
100%.
So, and that's why it's really, really great to see you do what you're doing in the Gill Connections podcast, because you're giving recognition and credence to a lot of coaches that people may not know about.
Yeah.
And it's really, really important. And I thank you for that. It's really, really means it means a lot. And it teaches coaches like me. And I've done the high school, I've done the college, I've done the NCAA compliance and all this stuff. And you have to coach. And NCAA coaches, just like Dill G. Taylor said, they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. You're wearing multiple hats, and depending on the program you're at, you may not have all these people that do these things for you.
Right.
So sometimes you've got to figure out the budgeting, the scholarships, the entering people into meets. You've got to do all these other things, and it's really hard to do. And if you have one assistant, and I'll give you an example. I have one assistant now who's USATF certified, who's a middle distance coach, but as part of a sprint heavy program. How does she, figure out how to become valuable to that program, right? And because it's a different dynamic. It's not like I own a college where it's heavy duty distance everywhere. So majority of the coaches are going to be distance oriented,
right?
The exception of a coach here and there. But how do you find value in that? How do you find your way? And how do you figure out that? And this is why communications, I think, is so important. And talk about all the time, like coaching with the eyes. It's just as important as coaching with the stopwatch. paying attention, taking notes, communicating with your athletes. It's these little things that make a world of a difference,
Yeah.
right? And that aren't talked about. And sometimes a lot of coaches are afraid to speak up, afraid to ask questions because they think it's not a good question. There's no dumb questions. You're
Yeah.
just trying to learn.
I,
And
I think, to add to that, Jason, and to what Holly's saying, it's getting better, but I agree 100% in regards to, I hate to say anybody can coach, air quotes there, right? It's the heart side. When you're talking about coaching with the eyes, and the difference between a training plan and a coach, that's exactly right. And then we go to all these clinics across the country, and 99% of the speakers are talking about how to throw farther, how to run faster, jump higher, etc. We're getting better at, hey, how do I create culture? Hey, how do I coach girls and boys? Hey, I'm a female coach coaching boys. What do I need to do differently? Vice versa, etc. We're getting better at talking about how do we coach the team holistically, and not just how do I, make a 2-miler run under 10 flat or whatnot.
yeah, exactly. And to your point too, and it's not like track coaches. We're not making Coach K money, Nick Saban money. So
We should be, though. We should be, just so you know. I'm a huge proponent of this.
we do 3 seasons. They do 1. So
Yeah.
more money, yeah. But we don't always have the resources to fly around the country and go to clinics and certifications and so on. So it's important to have some type of community where you can brainstorm and talk and collaborate with other coaches to help each other grow. Because collectively, at the end of the day, I want to do my part to move the sport forward, right? No matter what that is. And if we can do this together, more power to the sport. And I haven't seen, is one reason I do live streams, because I want people to have direct access to me. And like I said, I don't have the celebrity name, but I've got 2 decades of experience, and that holds value. And and I'm also Wharton trained and certified, which Jim and Phil Wharton. I studied under those guys for a decade. I worked with them for a decade. Active isolated flexibility. So, at the end of the day, and I share this with a lot of other coaches, we're not only here to help you run fast, we're here to keep you healthy while you do it. Because at some point, you run faster and faster and faster. Sometimes the injury risk becomes a little bit more significant. How do you avoid that? Right? How do you sequence your training in a way, because you might be part of a district that requires you to race a heck of a lot? How do you structure training around that?
Right.
When you're racing maybe twice a week, and how do you do that when you have a lot of kids, or when you have a small amount of athletes? How do you maximize your opportunities?
Yeah.
So, and why are there not more people that you can talk to this about, right? So, because in my opinion, there should be, which is why I have powwows with a lot of coaches. I mean, now that I've got Marty here, I'm going to talk to him on a regular basis. I got Mike Hernandez I talk to all the time, and we're always throwing ideas off each other, picking each other's brains. And it's nice to have coaches like this where you can talk to. And you've got a coaching background too, right? Have you done USATF as well?
Oh yeah. That USATF coaching education not just only changed my coaching career, it changed my life. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it really, really did. I mean, and you've got your first one, and then level 2, when it's broken down for a couple of days, you're basically in medical school for like 4 days.
It felt like it.
And then you break off into your specialties, events, and so on and so forth. So you really gain a lot of insight in level 2. But how do you make those things that you learn, they're applicable to the different environment that you're in, right? How do, you can say, because it's easy to say, I'm going to do 6 times an 800 for my athletes, but you have 5 of those athletes are comfortable there. 5 of them are hanging on for dear life. And what adjustments do I need to make to get those people in the pack to not fall any further back? Because I want them to kind of catch up, close the gap. And then hence that's what cross country is. You want to have a tight group, right? From 1 to 5 or 1 through 7. So how do you do these things? And how do you identify situations, right? Are they getting weaker in the second part of the race, second part of the workout? What changes do I need to make? Does he or she need more speed? Does he or she need more endurance, more VO2 max, and so on and so forth? So it's, and that's one, and I don't know if you've seen my channel yet, but I've got almost 500 videos, and
That's awesome.
fully broken down early season, mid season, late season. I kind of go into detail. I explain everything. This is why I'm doing it, and this is what you can expect, and this is, and so on and so forth. Because I want people to have a full understanding of the coach's perspective, why someone's doing this. And I've got my my USATF credentials up on the website, on the page too, so on the channel. So if that matters to people, that's up there as well.
It does, yeah.
And it does. So, but it's the experience that you learn from other coaches, and that you learn from even. And I say this too, because I'm a longtime martial artist, an instructor as well, and even as an instructor, you never stop being a student. You can learn from your athletes just like you learn from coaches. So it's important to me to keep the ego at home, to be willing to learn from anybody.
How have you? I'm interested in that. I saw you were a big time martial artist. My son went through Taekwondo and stopped right before black belt, which I was like, come on, man, black belt. Like that's not many people can say it, but stopped right before black belt. So Scott belt or something like that. But it was fascinating to watch the journey of white belt up to Scott belt, over 3-4 years, whatever it took. And it was, I watch everything, I coached for 10 years. So I watch everything through my coaching lens of like, oh, how would that have been applicable in track and field or just in coaching in general? How do you, martial arts is different than distance running, but there has to be some similarities in maybe mindsets or something. How have you like melded the two, if at all?
They're applicable in I think a lot of different ways. Like number one, listen more and talk less. Right? And that's one of the rules of thumb is there as you're kind of progressing through the arts. The second you don't listen is the second you can get humbled by somebody you don't want to be humbled by. So that's why I said leave the ego at the door.
Yeah.
And just go on there, step on there, be willing to learn, just listen and apply yourself. And the same thing applies to running. I mean, posture, form is very important. The more efficient you are, the more you can pivot, the more you can block, the more you can strike. So, and in terms of running, energy conservation is very important, especially as your races get longer. So, and one of the things that I learned that people don't really do a lot in martial arts is breathe. There, you're testing people for black belts. Some of these tests are 3 hours, 4 hours, and people aren't really breathing through the technique. So they're dead about 30 minutes into the test. Dude, you got 3 hours left, man.
Yeah.
Well, learning how to breathe through some of these chambers and learning how to breathe efficiently when you're running is a very, very important thing. So that's kind of how they tie into each other, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, posture and efficiency, a strong core is important. Good range of motion and flexibility is important. Running, you're different. It's a little bit different. Like you're going from you warm up your drills and strides to the workout. Where here, you're basically going from warming up to fast twitch immediately. So it's a different transition of energy, a different transition of muscle fiber. So how do you get your students ready for that too? A little bit more of a dynamic warm up. And that's one of the things I learned over the years is how do I apply some of the flexibility techniques I learned in running to martial arts, and how to make it more dynamic and applicable to what you're doing. So, and it's really, really important. And you reduce a lot of injuries. You cut down a lot of injuries. And on the injury side too, you're helping people recover faster from them with that type of protocol as well. So, it fits in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, that's cool.
But at the end of the day, I think the willingness to just, even as a black belt, I've got a 4th dan in Hapkido, I've got a 3rd dan in Kung Sudo, and I'm a belt away from a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. So, but you never stop being a student.
Yeah.
Like even I'm a belt away from being a master, I'm still a student.
Yeah. So, I love how you talked about you're a step away from being humbled, because it's easy to visualize that in martial arts, right? Like, you got a new belt, so you think you're bad and everything. And then, there's always someone better, right? So someone steps up. I wonder if that's the same, like, can you apply those same lessons to a workout? You step up, you said 6x800 earlier, you show up at practice, think 6x800, I'm going to destroy this. And by 3rd rep, it's kicking your butt. And there's always that humbleness of like, oh, okay, I wasn't as good as I thought I was. So how do I bounce back from this?
Well, and I'll give you an example to tie into that too. You go from a top dog in high school as a senior So you just want to he's a freshman in college.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody's faster than you.
Right.
Right? So how do you adapt to that?
Yeah.
Because that could be a blow on a lot of egos.
Yeah.
You're not the man anymore.
Yeah.
You've got to work your way up again.
Have you heard of that study? They did a study that's always fascinated me with exactly what you said there about the athletic side, but they did a study on the academic side that the very same thing happens with academics with valedictorians, right? So valedictorian at a high school is the number one smartest kid in the school, and then they go to Harvard and they're number 1,000 or something, right? And they struggle with that. In fact, the instance of suicide is extremely high in that type of situation, where they might have been better off going to, I hate to say, a less academic rigorous school, but somewhere else where they maybe it would have fit in a little bit better. It's that I wonder in that same thing athletically of the top kid at your school, not necessarily in the nation, because the top kid in the nation is still going to do pretty good. Like every number one is still going to be pretty good. They're not going to necessarily win nationals their freshman year, no matter what division they join, but they're going to be pretty good. But the kid who's the number one, the superstar at their school, that goes on to a great program and is now like, oh man, I'm not even close to being the man, as you mentioned it. It's always just interesting, that psyche that I'm not sure parents, I'm going to say high school coaches, but also college coaches, they play a role in that, and the kid themselves. I'm not sure they take that into account in the recruiting process.
And this is where I think it's an important part for coaches to be able to communicate this to athletes and parents. Mm-hmm. Like, I want you to understand what you're stepping into. I'm Mike Smith. I'm head coach from Northern Arizona. Mm-hmm. You're stepping into this is the elite of the elite, right? This is one step away from Olympic final. Isn't it? We have a kid running 12:57 now for 5K.
Crazy.
So, and you've got 10 other guys running 13:20. So this is what you're stepping into. But were they there when they came here? No.
Right.
Years. And if you stick with it, if you're consistent, you'll understand what it takes to not only get to that level, but you'll understand the process, and you'll be able to give yourself time to adapt and progress and become the best version of yourself, the best runner will turn you out to be. So, but it's that being able to communicate the patience that's required, right? The discipline and the consistency that's required, and understanding that your teammates are here to help you, not to hurt you. It's just like as an assistant coach, I'm not competing with the head coach in my school. I'm here to serve. I'm going to help you too. I want to do my part to help this program get better, right? And if you let me do that, I want to give you everything I got. So
yeah, if the culture's set up that way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and it's important to. I mean, I think it's too. And I can't speak for other coaches, but it's important to foster that type of culture, a supportive culture. Right?
Yeah, not everybody would agree with you on that one.
Yeah, certainly not. I did coach in college, and it was not that way when I first came in.
Yeah, so there's definitely people out there that think the dog eat dog world, where you should be scared of your teammate taking your spot and things like that, is the right way. I don't agree with that. I'm just saying it's not a given. The way you're describing it, I agree with, and I wish there was more of that fostering, but it's definitely not. That is not the 100% across the board.
Oh, it's true.
Culture that's being built.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when I'm your coach, I want you running to the talk, not your mouth. I want you running to the talk. So I'll put together the puzzle. You do the work. We'll get you fast.
Yeah.
Period. Right. So, and if we need to make adjustments, we'll make adjustments and be okay with it. So at the end of the day, it's not always a straight path. Sometimes you got to take some detours.
Never is.
Totally okay, right? Yeah. So, and I trained in Central Park when I was in college, and we were jumping over ladies in strollers and like dogs, and it was crazy doing workouts, 1,000-meter repeats. It was almost like a death march. Some of these workouts, but we survived it. But it's something we can always go back and talk about. We can always talk about. The stories we have now are incredible, and one reason I'm so grateful to the sport too is because my closest friends in the world, I met through running. My wife met through running. Wow. And I'm so grateful to that sport. I want to give back as much as I possibly can to a sport that I felt has been so good to me. This is one reason why I'm trying to do it through the channel as a way of serving the sport, serving other people, right? And I've got Grayson here, who I just picked. He's in the comments too. I just started coaching him. It's from
Oh,
Texas,
nice.
and he's been adopting the training and progressing well. And Grayson, how you doing, my man? How you doing? Marty Ogden, level 2 in 2001 at St. Paul. Yeah, level 2s are
That was supposed to be my first level 2, but I was coaching the junior Olympic team summer camps out in Chula Vista. But I was supposed to go to St. Paul. So me and Marty, we could have met up in St. Paul, Marty.
It's a blast. And I heard there's some other IAAF certifications too, which I've not gone down that route yet, but
very rigorous.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
But USATF is rigorous in itself too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially level 2, and then level 3 is a whole nother level. And I don't even know if the protocols, the requirements are still the same.
I don't know. Yeah, I did a few level 2s, and then I taught level 1s. I taught about somewhere between 30 and 40 different level 1s, and then just work got too much. I wasn't able to put the study into actually being able to present level 1 the way I should have done, and so I had to end up stop doing that. But I never made it to level 3. Never took that next step, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's one thing I'd like to get at some point.
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of other. There's a level 3 coach in St. Anthony's High School in Long Island, New York. It's only level 3 I know. And then George Colano, the late George Colano, was the coach of the collegiate school in New York. He's a multiple level 2 coach, a great distance coach. There's a couple other level 2s that I know, but aside from that, I mean, that to me was
it's a bar.
Yeah, coaching. Like you're expanding your thought process a lot there. A whole bunch of different things, and the fact you can put together a training program, and it's kind of cool. And
very.
Watching other people do the same thing. But what's your personal, like, how did you get into the sport? I want to ask you, what's your personal experience with the sport?
Like got in like as an athlete?
Yeah. How did you get connected to the sport?
Yeah, you're gonna laugh at this. So I grew up in small town Alabama, and me and I call him my brother. He's my best friend, but I'm an only child, and he wished he was an only child, and so we buddied up, right? And so we had made a plan that we were gonna, in Alabama you have to play football. It's just law or something. But they were so big, and so we said we'd play football when we were seniors because we'd be big then, which never happened, by the way. But we really wanted to we wanted to do some kind of sport. And one day, freshman year in January, over the announcements, they said, hey, if you want to run indoor track, meet Coach Anderson in the cafeteria, after school or whatever. And I remember thinking to myself, indoor track, that's got to be easy. Like, come on, that's got to be like they just handed out letters for that. That's got to be the easiest sport in the world. And as you can probably imagine, I was 100% incorrect. I don't even know if I made it through the indoor season. It killed me. I was just I was terrible. B, I got so hurt. I remember shin splints like I couldn't walk. But I stuck with it. I don't actually remember if I ran outdoor track, but then I ended up running track for the next 3 years after that. But yeah, my introduction into the sport was, oh, this is easy. I can do this, and being unbelievably wrong.
Yeah. I remember being fast, but I remember a lot of people being faster.
Yeah, no, none of that was I knew I wasn't fast. I just thought it would be easy.
Same. I realized pretty quickly I was not a sprinter.
Yeah.
I wanted to be. I was not a sprinter. So, we had a kid, it was in my high school, who came out of the gate running 49 seconds as a 9th grader. So, and we were like, what in the world? But we had a kid who was an immense talent.
I think I actually ran 49 seconds as a freshman.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was in the 200 though, so I'm not sure it's the same, but I'm pretty sure that was my PR.
49. It's still 49. Right? Yeah, he wound up running, I think, 151, 800 in high school. I think he still has our school record.
Holy cow!
And he ran for 22 seconds for the 200. He was also a cross country city champ in CHSA at Van Cortlandt Park. Range, he had that Saida Wida type range. could sprint, he could be a distance. He was probably the most talented person we'd ever seen.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. But now you've got kids running. You've got 10 kids a year running sub 4-minute miles now. So
Unbelievable.
how's the sport progressed since back in the day? It's incredible.
It really is.
Training, the different resources, the different coaching philosophies, the different willingness to try certain things,
Yeah.
right? How do you think, how are you happy with the way the sport's progressed? Can you see some more changes that you like to see with the sport?
Yeah, 100%. I think specifically on the coaching, like where the athletes are today. So I actually kind of have a theory about it. And of course, we have our own biases, and I'm a huge coaching education proponent. So I have a bias of coaching education. But, and this has been reinforced through, 250 plus interviews on the podcast. We typically, when we get into coaching, we typically coach how we were coached. And then through peer-to-peer and coaching education, we adjust course and maybe start, air quotes, coaching correctly, right? And so what I believe is the reason kids are running so fast now is because coaching education today in 2024 is light years ahead of where it was in 2014. And it's a whole different ball game as it was in 2000, right?
Yeah.
And COVID actually helped that. I think, we got a lot more peer-to-peer, people are doing, I love things like this, Jason. I think more coaches should have their own podcast, their own live show, their own articles, their own websites, their own books. There's so much more knowledge, not just how to run fast, but also culturally and how to deal with the human. I think more coaches need to talk. We need to get more of that knowledge out. So I think kids are being coached better today than they were 10 years ago because of coaching education and a lot of other the times are coming up. There's a lot of other factors. No one thing is ever the one thing, right? So yes, the shoes, and yes, COVID, and the COVID year in college and things like that. I think all that is part of it. But I think coaching education has improved so much that kids are starting off being coached better today than they were when they first were. I'm not sure I'm explaining this very well. If you're falling back, if you're coaching how you were coached, if you start coaching next year, if you're a college senior and you start coaching next year after college, you are starting at a higher place than a coach who started back in 2000. And so what I believe is because this generation right now, these kids are being coached better, and they're typically going to be our future coaches. I think when they become coaches in the year 2034, 2040, I think they again start at a higher bar, a higher level, because they're being coached by better coaches. I think what we're seeing today in 2024 is going to look like a joke in 2034. I think we make fun of the 4-minute mile now that everybody's doing it. 10 high schoolers. I think 100 high schoolers are going to do it in 10 years. I really do. I think the coaching is just continuing to rise, and then of course technologies and things like that as well are continuing to get better.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, I think, areas where the sport can be enhanced that not necessarily not only training athletes and so on and so forth. These other components of training too, right? These other communicatory components, these other observatory components, all these little things, whether it be the strength training or the flexibility, range of motion, all the other ancillary parts of training that aren't really discussed in great detail, could be significant contributors to the betterment of these athletes. Help them run faster, help them stay healthy, and so on and so forth. And I got a question here, Mark. As you notice a trend, especially when my kids want to run for both high school and club teams at the same time. Do you think it works, or should kids be sticking to one team and coach during high school?
It's a big topic right now. Big.
What's your take on it?
Yeah, we've had a couple of, I've had both sides, right? I interview a lot of high school coaches, and I interview some club coaches as well. And then of course, I'm literally 24 hours a day, I'm on Twitter. So I'm in the conversation with a lot. It's a big deal, and one that in certain aspects makes me gets in my crawl a little bit. So, there's no bigger cheerleader, no bigger fan, no bigger advocate of track coaches than this guy here. And that means I got to sometimes knock the ego down a little bit. You talked about ego earlier tonight, Jason. So I hear both sides. I hear a high school coach that would say, hey, during track season, you're on the team. You want to do club after? Knock yourself out. But during season, you have to listen to me in my workouts. And I believe in that. That's a team. I don't see any football coaches going to let their quarterback go to a quarterback guru during season. You want to do it off season, knock yourself out. I believe in that. And then I'll see the opposite. I'll see a club coach that will say, yeah, hey, there's just no good. I'll use the throwing events as an example. There's no good throwing coaches in my area. So I'm making your team better by you sending me your kids during season. And that ego blows my mind. It's like, man, you're saying all the throws coaches in that example in your area are no good. It boils down to the easiest and hardest thing in the world to do: communicate.
Exactly.
It has to be communication. If a high school coach says, hey, if this kid's going to be on the team, he has to be with our team, 24/7 during the track season. Cool. But if that private coach doesn't, is good, then those two need to talk. Maybe that private coach can help the high school coach with workouts. That'd be a good thing. And the reverse is true. Man, club coach, if you think you're the best, the bee's knees, that's awesome. Good for you. Then I think you owe it to that community, whatever community you're serving that has no good throws coaches, in my example, to do clinics and camps and teaching and articles and whatever. Then make more good throws coaches, because wouldn't that benefit you as well? But instead, we want this pull, and Hernandez, I think you're describing this pull of, it's my kid. They're paying me for my club. I'm the expert, or it's my kid. They're at my high school, so they're with me. It's this ego of my kid, and I try to remind people all the time, it's not your kid. It's our team. It's our athlete. It's not your kid, your performance, etc. But communication is when people communicate. I've seen the club and high school coaches and the athletes work together to the benefit of everybody. When it's ego driven, I've seen it crash and burn 100% of the time.
Now, I've seen the coaches get territorial. If you feel like somebody's stepping on your toes, that's the last thing you want to do. And it's important. You're absolutely right to communicate. Say, look, I have this. I can bring this value. Is there any way I could, I think it's important to get the buy-in from the coach first.
Every coach, I think, would say, I do it for the kids. And that's awesome. I love that, right? Yeah. But then, to your point about territorial, if I'm not an experienced sprints coach and there's a better sprint coach in town that has a club, well, if I really am doing it for the kids, wouldn't I bless that? And by the way, the reverse is true. My example of that throws coach, if you're really doing it for the kids, then wouldn't you help other coaches become better throws coaches?
You would think so. Yeah.
So I challenge coaches when they say I do it for the kids. I'm like, okay, I'll be watching. Because if you really are doing it for the kids, that means you're going to let go a lot of possession, a lot of things.
Yeah, and it's this type of stuff, like I was telling you, that people don't talk about, right? That people don't want to know, and this lack of communication that sometimes can create tension in areas where it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, it does create tension. Yeah,
and again, and then people take pride in what they do. Coaches tend to have. They take personal, a lot of them, the athletes that they're coaching, right? And they don't want any outside interference. And I understand that. I get it. So, but at the same time, a willingness to learn. If there's somebody out there who knows a lot, that could be helpful, but they've got to present it in the right way. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's the thing, too. I remember watching this episode, and it's kind of unrelated, but it's related. It's a Cosby Show episode where the daughter Vanessa brings a date and so on and so forth. And Bill Cosby's like, we have to understand, we just don't like you. Right. And he's like, why? He's like, I'll give you an example. What's your favorite meal? Steak. Okay. Mushrooms, whatever. Well, I'm going to make your favorite meal right now, but I'm not going to serve it to you on a plate. I'm going to serve it to you on a lid of a garbage can. It's all in the presentation. It's not too appetizing, is it? She brought you here on the lid of a garbage can. Okay. And that's the first impression that you made. And you can blame her for that, not yourself. And it's that type of stuff that presenting it's also an important component of this. If you feel like you can be helpful, it's important to communicate that effectively and say, this is what I can offer, at least in my opinion. And if you're willing to learn, or if you're willing to let me come in and contribute, I'd be happy to do that in your system. It's got to be your system, not mine. This is your system you worked a long time to build.
Right.
And I don't want to interfere with that. I want to contribute to that.
I love that example of the garbage can, because in the right presentation, because I'm reminded of the coach that sees another athlete at a track meet and wants to coach that other athlete because they think they're doing it wrong, and maybe they are. And as long as there's not safety involved, to take that away. But when it's like, I'm going to go coach that kid because I'll be able to help him, it's like, that's not the right place. Not the right place and time to do it at a meet. Don't coach another coach's kid at the meet. That you may have all the best intentions. You might be that steak, but you're showing up on that garbage can. I like that example a lot, Jason.
Yeah, and it's that type of stuff that you remember as a parent or a coach or whatever it might be. And that's not the impression that I want to leave on somebody. Right? Because that's the first impression. You can never get that back. So this is where it's important to kind of be respectful of everybody that's doing what you're doing in a way. And that's where the communication part, you're absolutely right. There's so much of a lack of communication in so many places that this is a huge place where we can get so much better. Not only interpersonally and obviously in the sport, but just in general, communicating with friends, this, that, assistant coaches, whatever it might be, officials, whatever. So it's a great way of kind of fostering a relationship, creating a more personal environment, right? And again, it goes back to, checking in with you. If you're coaching with the athletes, checking in with them, making sure they're good, right? Making sure they're, and if something's wrong, I want you to be able to come to me and tell me. I'm not going to blame you. Like, I'm here to support you. So, and if we need to change something, we'll change something. We'll look into it. We'll vet it and whatever. But like, if you have a legitimate concern or a legitimate problem, I want you to know you can feel comfortable enough to come and tell me. I'm here to support you. I'm your coach. Like, and in some cases, coaches are therapists too. The athletes, and sometimes they rely on coaches to, sometimes they feel more comfortable talking to coaches than they do their own parents. So there's so much value with that a communication can bring in so many different areas.
Easiest thing and the hardest thing in the world to do.
Yeah. And it creates as many problems as it can solve. But I think that's an area where we can all get better at. We can all get better at. And again, that's one of the inspirations behind this channel, because I want people to know that they have an avenue available to communicate this type of stuff, and people that are available to listen to them. Okay. And maybe we can help you figure something out, even if it's a little part of the puzzle. If it'll help you, I want you to be able to do that. But if I don't want you to feel comfortable enough to be able to communicate it, whether it be as workouts, can you help me with this? With that? Yeah, I'm happy to. Absolutely happy to. So it's an important part, and it's good to see your perspective on this as well. And I appreciate it. And then all you folks in the comments, as well, right here, Mike Hernandez, communication is a key component. You're absolutely right. And back to Holly. I'm sorry I cut you off there, Holly. Is there any coaching education about how to coach those about to retire or transition out of sport? Ooh. I'm not there yet.
I was going to say, easy answer, no, right? I know of none at all. That's not it's not maybe right, but yeah, Holly, maybe that's a missing spot out there that maybe you fill one day. Yeah.
That's a good question. Different question, but it's a good question. I mean, if I guess you're financially in a good spot, then go enjoy your retirement. I wish I can provide a major gap. You're right, Holly. There is a major gap. And it's a good.
I went through this with an athlete on the sidelines as a friend. Especially if I'm understanding your question right, Holly. About how to coach someone through retirement or transition out of sport. Well, that must mean I'm assuming you mean that as then that they are a pretty high level. To your point, Jason, if you're financially able to do it, right? So one of my very dear friends, I've known him since he was 16, 17 years old, is Justin Gatlin. And we've just been friends ever since I recruited him back when he was in high school. And when we would talk about when it was time to retire, I could tell, and I have to assume and maybe extrapolate this out to a lot of other athletes, not all, but a lot at such a high level. That's your whole identity, is this great runner. And I think there's a fear of when I don't show up to the track the next day for practice or that weekend for the meet, who am I? I've been a runner. I've been a marathoner. I've been a miler. I've been a 100-meter guy my whole life. If you're up to the retirement side of it, who am I if I don't train? Who am I if I don't race? Who am I if I don't all the other things that encompass that? And I think I almost see that more as a less of a coaching education and more of a career, and even honestly, mental health of like, hey, you got to this actually, what, Holly, I'm kind of talking this out, thinking about this as I'm talking it out. I think what maybe if I'm hitting the right vein you were in on this one, I think that actually needs to start. This is where it is coaching education. This needs to start way early in that athlete's life, that you are not a 100-meter runner, a shot putter, a marathoner. You are Holly in this example, and Jason. You are a person first, first and last. And one of the roles you play is this amazing athlete. You also play a whole bunch of other roles, right? Maybe you're a son or a daughter or a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, etc. So there's all these other roles. I think we get too wrapped. I've seen this in the coaching world for sure. We get too wrapped up in that role, that title of coach. And I think in this example, the title of athlete. And then it's hard to, difficult to actually no longer be that because of something that's going to get all of us, and that's age.
Yeah, and Holly just added too, I'm a former pro. Confusion and difficulty of transitioning out of that identity is shocking.
Yeah. That's a great descriptor, I think, of it right there. How you've been through it. I'm on the outside. That's a great word, I think, that to describe it. It's shocking.
You hit the nail on the head right there, Holly. And you're absolutely right. And you would know as a former pro more than a lot of us would.
Yeah.
You're known as that. Like you interviewed Jeremy Warner, and I've always known him as the world-class quarter mile Olympic champ. Yeah. I still have a hard time identifying him as, or just getting to know him as Jeremy Warner, the coach. It's different. So.
That for me, when I first got to Gill, one of the first big name people that I had the opportunity to start working with on a daily basis was Jeff Hartwig. At that point was the American record holder in the pole vault, 2-time Olympian. And I remember thinking, what does Jeff Hartwig want to talk to me for? I'm not even a vaulter. No way was I good at. Like I'm not in his stratosphere. And then through working to him, I was like, oh, wait, he's Jeff first, not pole vaulter. That's now a former life when I started, as I went through working with him. Like, oh, you're a person. You put, the proverbial pants on the same way I put them on. And same with John Godina when I started working with him, and now I'm really good friends with John. And it was like, this multi-time Olympian thrower, what does he want to talk to me for? And then it's like, oh, wait, John and Mike are cool with each other. Now we're not going to go train together because I'm not a shot putter, but we're humans first. And I think it's easy to lose that, especially as you gain more accolades and more people are talking about how great you are at throwing or running or jumping or whatnot.
And this is one reason I appreciate Tom Nohilly so much, because he never stopped being a regular dude.
Yeah.
He was a world-class runner. He was a dude from Queens.
Yeah.
He was always relatable. And that's another part of this. Like, you'd be a world-class athlete, but are you relatable? Can you just relate to the normal folks that aren't at your level?
Yeah.
And that's why I appreciate people, and I like to recognize folks that do that, that are just human, right? And just regular people.
Yeah.
My mom worked in the entertainment industry for 3 decades, and I've met a lot of celebrities through my mom. And some of them are just like Tom Hanks is a regular dude.
Yeah, you're kind of talking about two different things, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's the external, which is I'm bigger than you. I'll use Jeff
Yeah.
Hartwig as an example. I'm Jeff Hartwig. Don't talk to me unless you know how to vault. That's external. The
Yeah.
internal is Jeff thinking, oh my God, I made 2 Olympic teams and was at 4 Olympic trials. Who am I if I'm not schlepping my poles across this world? There's an internal and external component. One's ego towards the outside. Another one is fear, shocking to Holly's word
Yeah.
there internally.
And maybe I want to talk to somebody who doesn't know me as Jeff Hartwig, just knows me as Jeff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I like to be regular.
Can you handle that too, though?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's that other part of the puzzle too. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating. And like Tommy, I bring him up because he never stopped being Tommy. Like he was a dude from Queens, right? Even though he was a 816 steepler and like all these like, had all these accolades, world cross country champs and blah blah blah. He was just a regular dude that would hang out with you, like, and it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
It's not always the case, but it's really cool to see. And I think it's important to have that humble side of you, that normal side.
Yeah. Hey, I don't want to overlook Marty's comment that you have up there, but look at, can you put Mike Hernandez's last one up there?
Yeah. So Marty's saying coach individuals privately, officiate, help to organize a meet, write a book. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, you can contribute in so many different ways, right? And, some people prefer to read. Some people prefer to watch videos like this. Some people so there's all different avenues that people like to learn from. And being able to contribute any way you can is a great thing. And to Mike saying, maybe if you're comfortable, try some small public speaking to share your experiences. Maybe that's something. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think Michael's talking to Holly here about her experiences, and I wanted to kind of highlight that and bless that, honestly. Holly, sometimes when we talk about these things of like going to public speak or starting a YouTube channel or a podcast or something like that, we tend to think, we tend to like vision this 10 years from now and like, oh my God, it'll be 1 million people, or if it's not 1 million, I wasn't successful. All that is bunk. If you were to start a TikTok channel talking about these experiences, articles, Twitter, public speaking at clinics, etc., whatever you're comfortable with, I think Mike hit the nail on the head there. Whatever you're comfortable with, and as a coach, you already have this amazing positive impact on young people. This can be more of a positive impact on others. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to grow into speaking to 1,000 people at one time. If you speak at 10 to 20 people at a time, you're going to help people. You are putting light into the world. So I just want to make sure we highlighted that, what Michael said. I think that's a great idea, and just want to, however you want to push that message out to your point there, whether it's written, voice, video, etc. All of it's important. You don't have to do all of it, but I'm saying which one you are more apt to. Holly, maybe you're a writer, write stuff, write LinkedIn articles. It will magnify. If there's a niche, a market out there for it, it will get magnified. And hey, I'm telling you what, no one's doing it right now, Holly. So I think you kind of have to do it,
especially if you're passionate about it. Yeah, I mean, you don't need Tony Robbins audiences all the time. You don't need that.
You know what Tony started with, though? Tony started with one. So, I mean, it can happen.
Yeah. So it's just, again, you impact. If there's 5 people, you impact 5 people, you did your job. You did a great job.
That's right.
Made some people's lives better.
Yeah. With TV has got us all messed up, and we think we need to be famous. That's not true. You can be very famous in a very niche area and be positively contributing to society. And that's, if all of us did that, society in general would be a much, much, much better place right now. So
go get them, Holly.
Go
do it. And it's great. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool to do that, and thank you, Mike, for giving her that encouragement too. So that's a great point on. Great, Marty Ogden too. I appreciate you guys. This is what I'm talking about, the community, right?
Absolutely.
You never know what contributions you're going to get from people.
Yeah.
You give them the form to do it, and they do it. So, and this is one of the things I love so much about the community, and having folks like this on, having you on, because you get all these different perspectives. And again, regular people, lift up people just like famous people do.
That's right.
And impact is the impact. And some of the folks I'll never forget are the people that Marty Ogden from the camp and Mike Hernandez. We were at the same running camp together. I went to high school with Mike Hernandez, but Marty Ogden was one of the people I remember from 5-star cross country camp. And it was him, Christian Morrison, Steve Lurie. So, and one of the most valuable experiences is the relationship that we were able to build with Marty, Mike, and stuff like that. And those are the types of things you'll cherish forever.
Yeah.
You have some famous coaches that do this and do that, but it's those types of connections that stick with you forever.
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, these famous coaches, one of the goals, I've said this only a few times. One of the goals with the podcast was kind of twofold. I wanted to, first of all, I was very committed to interviewing coaches of all levels. So middle school up to professional, all the different NCAA disciplines, etc. And the reason for that was, one, I wanted to show, I'm going to use your words there, famous coaches. And you're right. There's the Mouse Holloways and, back in the days, Gaglione, these guys, they're amazing. And everybody knows their name. When you say their name, everybody knows their name, right? I wanted to show that the vast, vast majority of those guys and gals typically were not great athletes, were not given the keys to the kingdom. They had to earn it. They probably coached junior college to start with or high school. I'm amazed at how many college coaches started as high school coaches, by the way, because of the myth that a high school coach can't be successful on the college level. That's a straight myth. Anyway, but I wanted to kind of show, like, just because I always like to use Mouse as my example, just because you have Florida, he's not a great coach because of that. He's a great person who coaches because of his experiences growing up. So I kind of wanted to bring a Mouse down. I wanted to show that high school coach in the middle of Kentucky, hey, you know what? With the right breaks and the right work, you could become the head coach at Florida one day and win 13 champions. You can. I 100%. Mouse is a young man from Columbus, Ohio, for crying out loud. Was not a stud athlete at all, as a JUCO kid. So I kind of wanted to bring them down. And then the reverse is true. I wanted to show that just because you don't have Florida, so you have Bethlehem or you have Utica or whatever, that does not mean you are not a good person, good coach. You still positively impact young people tremendously. Not more, not less, tremendously. If you're coaching 20 kids in Sheboygan or you're coaching 100 kids in Danville, you are positively impacting young people. And that's superhero stuff, man. That's where a coach to me is a friggin' superhero in what they do. It does not matter what's on their chest. Are you positively impacting young people? Bravo. You're contributing to society better than 99% of the people out there.
Absolutely. That's why I thank you for bringing your coaches, your high school coaches, college. You bring everybody on. Talk to everybody. You get everybody's because you're the biggest coaching cheerleader that I know.
Absolutely, 100%, baby.
It's refreshing to see, right? And so I can't thank you enough for it. Wow. And it's this one reason I wanted to have you on here, because I want people to know about you too. So, and there are folks like you out here, that are supportive of coaches who don't necessarily get the accolades that certain other sports get.
Yeah,
and they should.
They should. 100%. Absolutely. That has become my mission. I am going to put you on a pedestal as high as I can, and hopefully other people see it, and other people have bigger platforms and bigger resources see it, and so they also pick up on that and start bringing you guys and gals up, because again, you're superheroes. You're friggin' superheroes. 99.9% of your kids are not going to go pro, but they're all 100% of them are going to become moms, dads, clergy, business owners, teachers, coaches, accountants, etc. And that is the impact you make on society. That's it. It ain't how I could care less how fast your kids run, jump, or throw. I don't. It's awesome. I love watching a good track meet and someone doing some stuff I haven't seen before, but I don't care. I don't care if you coach 20 10-minute milers. I think you're doing an amazing job, because you're helping those 20 kids understand that if they work hard, that if they do the right things, good things will happen. And that's
Yeah.
the memories that they'll have in 10 years when they're deciding to do something good or do something bad. And they're going to go, man, coach always believed in me. I'm going to do something good. So
Yeah.
I care less how good your kids are. Love and bless you for them to get better. But I care about what you do for the young people in this country, in this world, because that is the true measure of what you're doing to make society better.
You're doing your part to make the world better, and no matter what that part is. And I'll give you an example of our high school coach, Mr. Carey. We had a kid on our team, Mike Hernandez, if you remember, James Yi, little Chinese kid, and wasn't fast, but his goal was to break 30 seconds for the 200. Not as fast, super fast time, but he had all 80 of us on the team behind him. It was like Rudy Rudiger from the movie Rudy, where everybody was behind him. He was our Rudy, and it took him 4 years to get there, but he had the whole place on fire when he ran 29.8 for the 200. We were going absolutely nuts, and Coach Carey spearheaded this. Okay, this motivation, and he kept this kid fired up and motivated, and he got all the team involved to get this kid make him feel like he was part of the family, make him feel like he was special, and he was a cool kid, quiet kid, but he went from whatever it was, 40 seconds, and he broke 30 seconds as a senior.
That's so cool.
And we felt like he broke the world record.
That's gold medal, baby. Yeah.
We felt like he ran the Olympic gold medal. So there's no better feeling in the world. No better feeling. Yeah, right here. James G, you remember that?
That's awesome.
I mean, no, I don't know if anybody remembered this kid. I remember him. And that's one of the things that I'll never forget. We ran 29.8 for the 200. It felt like it was 19.8. It was so cool. No one got a better reaction, than him when he ran. He had this gigantic smile on his face when he got jumped by his teammates at the end, and we just piled on. It was like a big mosh pit on top of James. It was so cool. But it's those types of experiences that you'll never forget, that you remember, right? And the coach's impact on these experiences. What Mr. Carey did for this kid was something I'll never, ever forget to this day. And I have him to thank for that. If I ever see James again, I'll tell him this story. Tell him how fired up it was. Like, it was so cool. So cool. And I get almost like choking up talking about it.
It was so cool.
About a non-sexy story, but it was very meaningful, and really, really meaningful. And there's so many contributions like that aren't talked about, that I think should be. So I have him to thank for it. So, moving forward, I wanted to ask you, is there a new rule in the long jump now?
So
they changing
they're talking about it,
right?
It's not changed. They're doing experimenting, and basically, so I actually have some kind of not insider knowledge, but so one of the cool, I get to do a lot of cool things, and one of the cool things I got to do here recently is MC the Wisconsin Track Coaches Association anniversary dinner for the WISCA track clinic. Yeah. And part of my duties for that was to introduce the keynote speaker, and the keynote speaker was the one and only Willie Banks. Triple jump royalty, who I've had on the podcast, so I knew him already. It was just fantastic. And at the end, he kind of gave us, he's on the World Athletics Council to talk about these issues. And so he kind of gave us some inside look. So I'd kind of already heard about this. The way he explained it, I thought it was a little different. And of course, no one knows exactly because they haven't given any specifics, but ultimately they, the issue that they started out that Willie Banks kind of described was when they surveyed people that were in the stadium for a track meet, 95, and I'm probably getting all the numbers wrong, but and a huge amount of majority of the people that were in the stadium said, I loved the meet. It was exciting. All that, had a good experience. When they surveyed the people who watched it on TV, it was the exact inverse. 80+% said I had no good experience watching that at all. Yeah. And so with the long jump specifically, two things that kind of stood out when they studied the long jump. One was over a third of all jumps were fouls. And then again, some big number, 80-90% of the people who were in the top three places after the first round, 80 to 90%, whatever the number was, of the time, those three people are still the same people who are in the top three. Maybe first is now third or whatever. But essentially, the people in the top three after the first round were essentially the top three at the very end. And so I believe what they are trying to do is, I don't think they're trying to jump farther. I don't think that this is a rule to help break 29, 30 feet in the long jump. I don't think that's the case. I think this is the case of trying to make every jump count, that every jump gets a mark. And now you don't have the letdown of whether it's a big jump and then the red flag comes up, or, a guy steps over the line and, now runs through it because he knows he fouled. I think they're trying to make it where if we're going to have 8 competitors doing 6 total jumps, well, we're going to get 48 marks. We're not going to have 20 marks and 28 fouls in there. I think that's what the real impetus of the potential rule change is going to be.
Less interruptions of the sport, less interruptions of the event.
Yeah. Hey, and here's the thing, God bless, you can't go on social media right now and not hear, I want to say almost every side to this new proposed rule. But really there's only been one side. 9 out of 10 people think this is the world's worst thing, right? But they're all worried about the wrong things, in my opinion. People are worried about, well, are they going to change? You can't have the same world record. Well, of course not. No, it's a different event. So the current world record will be that long jump world record, and we'll have a new long jump world record that comes out of this. This isn't going to help people jump farther. I don't think that's the goal behind this, is to help to make people jump 30 feet. I think the goal is to have everybody get a mark, a long jump mark, so that we can move this meet on and we can actually tell a story with how things move in the event. My concern was the way Willie Banks first described it. He talked about making the long jump board longer. So it's 48 inches wide, and right now it's 8 inches long. He was talking about making it longer. And he said, I don't think they're making it long enough. He was talking about having a meter long board. Now, I have some real concerns about a board a meter long because of when we're seeing the slipping that's happening in long jump. And it's not necessarily the board. I think it's a combination. When the last big meet, what was it, World Champs, I think it was, they were slipped. A couple of guys slipped pretty bad. And of course, because I'm on social media 24/7, a lot of people started tagging me and asking me. First of all, they asked, "Is that a Gill Athletics board?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, it's in Istanbul or wherever it was. It's not Budapest. It ain't ours." But I know it's Mondo's, and so they're like, "Oh, these," immediately people start, assuming stuff. Oh, I hate these plastic boards and blah 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 blah. I went and looked. I can't see where Mondo sells a plastic board at all. It was a Mondo board. That was a wood board that was happening to, and so. That flies in the face of what everybody says. So they didn't like that answer. I think there is a combination of two things happening. I think we're putting carbon and stiffer plates in long jump shoes as well. This isn't just a miler situation with these new carbon type shoes and stuff, right? So I think the plate stiffness is not allowing flexibility on a takeoff for it to actually grip. And so I think that's why you're seeing some slipping. And two, if you're long jumping properly, you see less slipping on lower levels than you do high levels. Because if you are long jumping correctly, your foot is actually out in front, the braking that you see, you tell your athletes not to do. Well, in long jump, you actually want that because you want that fulcrum over for the long jump, that impulse on the board. And so you're already in a in a braking situation. And now you're having stiffer and stiffer shoes that are not flexing onto the wood or to the composite material, and it's causing an issue. So when Willie first said 3 meters, I was like, "Holy crap! That's a lot of wood or composite for that shoe to be on." I don't like this. And now they're talking about this zone, which again they've given no guidance. Is it going to be like chalk, like they do with some of the Paralympians? Is it going to be a board? Is it going to be no board? You're just going to jump off a track surface? No one knows. So we're left to just assume and guess and gripe.
Now, where is this going to be applicable? Where would it hypothetically be applicable? Just internationally or domestically too?
Well, I assume because it's coming from the World Athletics, it's going to start at World Athletics, which means USATF as well, right? If you're trying to qualify for the Olympics in the zone long jump, well, your US trials are going to be zoned as well. And then, like a lot of rules and such, it'll trickle all the way down. I would 100% foresee this in high school as well, which again, people are, belly aching about, well, the technology, the cost of lasers, whatever, yada, yada. I don't suspect there will be lasers in high jump, just like there's not false starts detectors in high jump. Just like there's not FAT timing for everywhere in high school. Plenty of people still do hand time. So I fully expect there'll be that equivalent in the long jump with this long jump possibility. And Hernandez is asking, would there still be fouls? Again, Michael, they have given us, and I say us, they have given us track people no guidance. So no clue how long that zone's going to be. Is that zone going to extend all the way to the pit? So can you jump off right where the sand starts? If not, there shouldn't still be fouls, because let's say hypothetically they give us a 24-inch zone. It's not a board. Let's just say it's a chalk zone. And so there is, like, if you were to go over, that would be a foul. Well, but if they're going to measure where the takeoff point is, well, that's all good. If I'm a long jumper, I'm not going to try to crowd that line because I know there is a foul. I'll try to jump 12 inches behind it for all I care, because that's where they're going to measure from. So there should certainly be less fouls if there is still a foul line. But again, Michael, they've said nothing. They really irresponsibly kind of put this out into the track world, and then just allowed us to, what we do best as track people, right? Let our imagination go free and complain about the powers that be. And, what they really should do is X, Y, and Z and all that stuff. So just no guidance at all. It still remains to be seen.
Wow. That's interesting. Mike coaches all the events, and he does a lot of jumps.
Oh, good. That's the best coaches do. I love that.
Yeah, he does long jump and triple jump. He does middle distance and distance, and we both had to learn all the events too. And we coached as high school head coaches as well, so we had to learn everything. It's hard.
I can't wait, because Willie actually gave us like 3 or 4 things that are being talked about. The long jump was one. Moving the girls' implements up.
Really?
Oh yeah. Moving, so going, and again, no specifics here, but 4K to maybe 6K in college, and then in pros or something like that. Co-ed 4x1.
What? Really?
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of co-ed relays already, so I wasn't a fan of that one. Yeah, and then the one that's been talked about probably the most, and probably is going to happen, but again, there are both sides to it, and certainly a lot of complaints from the current athletes and such, and that's moving the women's heptathlon to a women's decathlon.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I would love if they would ever incorporate a distance medley relay in the Olympics. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I love the DMR indoors. I'm not a big fan of it outdoors, but I certainly I'm a big fan of relays in track and field, because that brings in the team component. And there seems to be I was at Penn Relays last year, first time in years since I coached there when I was at Mississippi State, and I was blown away by, first of all, there's like 100 4x4 going. I was a little like, I've forgotten about that part. So as I'm on my 98th 4x4, but every 4x4 from the quote unquote slowest to the fastest, the fans were in it.
Oh,
if some guy's team was running 5 minutes, if that third leg was about to catch the other third leg guy, man, the crowd didn't care that kid was splitting 110. They were going at it. So I do love more relays. I wish the World Relay Championships would become a bigger deal. I think that could help our sport.
It would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I think you're right about that. I mean, I wouldn't mind if there was a 4x8 outdoors.
Yeah, 4x8's fun. Yeah.
4
by mile. I know you guys are distance guys mostly, but 4 by mile is a little tough, man.
We're still hoping for a sub 16 in college.
Yeah, it should happen. Yeah. How has that not happened actually with all those?
I don't know, with Washington and Oregon, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They've got farms over there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll be in relays this year, by the way.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'll be there too. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm there every year.
Oh, good.
I'm usually there on Well, it depends on it's Thursday. I usually go Thursday night at the distances, but now it's the same night as the NFL draft, and we usually have a draft party. So I'm usually at Penn on Friday and Saturday.
All right. I'll be there. I'll be there.
And that'll be pretty cool. And I do the same. Yeah, we sit and watch millions of events.
Yeah,
millions of
amazing.
Events. Really
it's
cool
amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. So
Sean says 4x mile has a lot of hype. I don't know, Sean. I'm trying to not let my non-distance running bias show, but the DMR. Let's talk about some indoor DMRs. That's a crazy event that is running really fast right now. But man, 4x mile. Oof.
I mean, Northern Arizona just ran 9:17.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, really unbelievable. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. These, and the women, I think, just ran the 10:40s as well.
What do they take 12 relays to the NCAA Division I? If you're number one going into conference weekend, you are not safe. You are not guaranteed that the next week you're going to NCAAs. You could be 13th in a heartbeat. It's unbelievable, man. It's crazy how that has become the relay for the D1 indoors. It's awesome. It's amazing.
It's remarkable.
Yeah,
it's absolutely remarkable. And now even in the mile, you have to run 3:55 just to get in.
Yeah, is that true or faster? I thought 3:54 was the cutoff last I saw.
I mean, Washington last year, I think they had 8 guys under 3:54.
Yeah, it's really amazing. It wasn't the college record like 3:54 12 years ago or something like that. I've never seen some stat like that recently.
Oh, it's 3:50, I think, by here from Oregon.
So, Coop. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's remarkable.
Yeah,
and 3K is, I think it's 7:36. The 5K 12:57. The women 14:55.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Anytime people I'm not saying you're complaining, when people talk about that and complain and all this stuff, I go, well, it's your fault. You're the coach. You're the one who coached them so fast.
Yeah.
if you coach bad, this won't happen. So
blame me. I didn't do it. Yeah.
We give out the gifts for NCAA championships, and so invariably a school will come up and they've got 30 kids and they're trying to figure out how to take all this stuff. And I was like, it's your fault, man. You're the one who qualified all these kids. You could have qualified one. It'd been a lot easier. Yeah,
nice going, coach. Yeah, it's true. It's so true. But it's nothing like getting, in my opinion, an All-American plaque in NCAA, All-American plaque in the National Scholastics. It's so cool to see. I coached a kid in high school. He was 5th in National Scholastics indoor on a 5K, and it was really cool to see that.
That's cool.
Really cool to see that, and we also had a shot putter who was there, and it's nice to have a different. You have a shot putter, you got a hurdler, you got a vaulter, and you got a distance runner there.
That's cool.
Kind of cool. So, and it's cool to see it from the colleges too. So I love to see well-rounded programs. I really do. All the different events. So that's why I appreciate teams like Florida. They're kind of putting it together as well. A more diverse program. Arkansas, diverse programs. And I don't know why all these freaking teams are in the SEC, but they just happen to be in the SEC. Yeah, so
I'm an SEC homer. So yeah.
Yeah, they put it. They do it right. They definitely do it right. I mean, it's unbelievable, but it's fascinating, and I love it. I love it, and that's one of the things we had too. We love watching after the distance races. We go to the long jump pit and watch our guy go into long jump against the arch rival from the other school, and that was the last scoring event of the meet. We're just waiting to see who's going to win the championship. It's crazy, but it's fascinating to talk about. But I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's good enough to get it's to be able to speak to you and to be able to kind of share a different perspective, and maybe we can do it again. I would love to talk with you again. And if you're ever willing to consider me for one of your podcasts, I'd love to hop on your podcast too to talk about it further. And again, I love being able to share this type of information and share this type of knowledge and experience with people and listening to their experience and all that stuff.
It's kind of like for the podcast, it's kind of like Pokemon. I want to catch them all. I want to get every single coach in the whole stinking country, man. So I'm on a mission. I only get one a week, so 52 a year. So it may take me a while, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna have a whole bunch of coaches on, and it's gonna be amazing. Really
You
is.
go get them. I mean, I appreciate everything that you do, and keep doing what you're doing, making the sport better. Keep doing what you're doing, and keep making it better, man. I thank you, and I thank you everybody for coming on the chat, your comments, your questions, appreciate all of you. And for those that haven't heard, I've got Tom Nohilly coming on Tuesday night, so please join. Bring your questions, bring your feedback as well. And Mike, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, we'll see you guys at Penn Relays.
See you at Penn Relays, most definitely.
Absolutely.
And let me know where you're going to be sitting. We sit by the finish line. I'm there with my friend Mike, and we sit by the finish line.
I think I have a pass this year, so I don't know. I'll be infield and all over. So
nice. Yeah, my buddy Mike's got 20-year-long season passes, and
wow, that's amazing.
Finish, and it's pretty cool.
That's so cool.
And watch all the different events and connect with all the different people that we haven't seen since last year at Penn. It's really, really cool to see.
Well, we'll connect for sure.
Most definitely. But thank you again, Mike. Appreciate it. Keep doing the good work. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Love to all of you, gang. Thanks so much for bringing your insights, Sean. Our pleasure. You're welcome. Thank you for your kind words. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to y'all next time.
See you guys.